Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am huh? GK Konduri. I'm SVP and Head of Product here at GP. And I'm so excited to be here today with Eduardo Ramos, Head of Total Rewards at Boston Dynamics. Thank you, Eduardo, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And before we jump into all of the details of what we're going to talk about, how Boston Dynamics is, this is a little finicky. I'm going to hold it with my hand. How Boston Dynamics is increasing business agility with AI and global. We're going to, we're going to switch, yeah. Hello. Much better. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll start over. Um, Before we jump into the topic of the day, how Boston Dynamics is increasing business agility with AI and global employment, I want to start with a fun fact about Eduardo. He was formally trained as an opera singer.
And I am sorry to disappoint, but I will not be singing today. But you can find me in Symphony Hall singing with the Boston Pops this December if you're in Boston, so come on down.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. Eduardo, to start with, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience here?
Of course. Hi, everyone. Great to be here with you all. Thank you to GK and GP for having me. I'm Eduardo Ramos. I am a member of the People Operations team at Boston Dynamics. And in my role, I primarily focus on total rewards. But as tends to happen with any sort of smaller shop, there are a couple of appendages to the job, and one of those is that I am the liaison between Boston Dynamics and Globalization Partners, GP. And so I am supporting Boston Dynamics' global expansion strategy in that way. Boston Dynamics, if you are not familiar with the company, we are a robotics company based out of Waltham, Massachusetts, and we have a history in research and development. We were founded in 1992. And in 2018, we pivoted towards commercializing our robots. So today, we have three primary products. They are Spot, which is a quadruped robot that is outfitted with sensors and used primarily in industrial sensing use cases. There is also Stretch, which is a mechanical arm on a mobile base. And Stretch is a box-moving robot that is primarily used in a warehouse environment. And finally, we have Atlas, which is our humanoid robot. This is still under development, but it's a really exciting product, upcoming product. In partnership with Hyundai, our parent company, the plan is to deploy thousands of these robots into Hyundai's factories and others' factories as well. So really exciting time for Boston Dynamics. And of course, with all of that commotion comes a little bit of global expansion as we start to deploy our robots across the world.
Awesome. That's so exciting. I got a robotics kid at home, and this is exciting.
Let's have them over for a tour.
Oh, love it, love it. Thank you. So let's jump in. You said in 2018 you started looking at commercializing these fantastic robots that we talked about. And how did you first hear about GP as you were globalizing?
So I had it easy. My chief people officer, Rachel Salamone, previously worked at FLIR, which is a infrared camera manufacturing company. And they were customers of GP at the time. So we didn't necessarily have to look very far. To her, it was a clear choice, and she was confident that GP's employer of record services would suffice for what we needed. So nothing too crazy about that one.
That's awesome. We love when our excited customers talk to other prospects about us and bring more customers to us. And that happens all the time because of how customers love GP.
Your reputation precedes you.
Thank you. Thank you. So why did Boston Dynamics have a need for a global team?
So initially, as you might imagine, we hire highly specialized talent. And while there's a ginormous talent pool in the U.S., and we're fortunate there. There are times during which we need to find very, very specialized talent that might not exist in the U.S. So the initial prompt to begin engaging with GP was that we needed a specific type of software engineer. He was located in Denmark. So that was the first time that we ventured outside of the United States. And then after that, we had a similar need where there was a software engineer in Canada who had previously worked for us out of the US. He knew our legacy code. We needed him back. And so, again, GP facilitated that hire for us. And beyond those specific talent needs, as we've started to deploy our robots to many different countries, and we have key clients in those countries, we have we've developed a need to have support staff in those countries. We started to try to stumble through with our US-based employees, but it wasn't fair to have them traveling all the time. And then beyond that, the service agreements that we had with some of these clients required us to be within a 4-hour distance from them. So that's where we then started to expand to other countries. So we are now in, and I have to look at the list, I apologize, Canada, Denmark, Germany, the UK, Netherlands, Spain, and now we're in South Korea, which is the latest ad. So we're in North America, we're in Europe, and now we're in Asia as well, thanks to GP.
That's fantastic. So what started with Denmark and Canada grew to 11 countries and 3 continents. That's amazing. That's amazing. And as you were doing that, Eduardo, like, you know, I'm sure there were some operational challenges that you might have faced that led you to engaging with GPOR. How would you think about that, and how did that get solved with GPOR?
So the first thing is we didn't have the infrastructure to operate in any of these countries. We didn't have entities there. And we also didn't necessarily want to spend the resources to set ourselves up to hire 1 or 2 people within a given country. It just doesn't make financial sense to do that when you have to build out an expensive infrastructure to support 1 or 2 people. And that's where GP really comes into play. We are able to piggyback off of their really robust global infrastructure, and we're able to hire our folks through their entities. And so it became a non-brainer in that sense. It was just it made too much sense for us not to do that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So rather than having an expensive infrastructure in each of these 10 countries across 3 continents, you're just leveraging the expertise and infrastructure that GP has. That's awesome. Can you bring it to life with an example or 2 on how this helped you simplify complexities?
Yeah, definitely. So, one of the main concerns when you're expanding globally is you're not necessarily familiar with employment law and customs in the various countries, especially being a US-based company with an entirely US-based HR team. And so one of the things that I really appreciate about GP's EOR platform is the onboarding workflow, which I believe it is AI-backed, yeah?
It is AI-backed by our global compliance engine.
Yes. So what I really appreciate about that specific workflow is that as you are providing the details to develop the contract for these individuals, you are also getting real-time insights as you go to make sure that you are staying within compliance bounds and that you are also doing the right things that are customary in these countries. We not only want to be compliant, Boston Dynamics tends to be a company that likes to go above and beyond with these things, and so it is also really insightful to get this information as you are going through it in real time. It makes the process so easy. Another example that I would love to bring up was when we were starting to work in Germany. Germany is a very different environment from an employment law standpoint, and there are all sorts of requirements from both the employer and the professional, one of them being their famous statutory notice periods. And we had one specific difficult instance that we had to work through, and GP was there every step of the way. It was one of the earlier on individuals that we had hired, and so GP was there every step of the way to help us make sure that we were handling this in the correct way and helping us to avoid any sort of exposure there.
That's awesome. That's a great example. I was asked the exact same question in an interview yesterday about some examples of how these laws are different, compliance rules are different in different countries, and how that comes to life in onboarding. And a quick plug about the AI powered onboarding that is part of GPOR. We have AI powered global compliance engine, which drives the entire onboarding process. Immediately after this talk, there is a demo of that our team will be doing over here. And just like you said, it is not just going to talk about what is the minimum required to be compliant, but what are the best practices to go above and beyond. And all of that is embodied in our onboarding workflow that is AI-backed, as well as GP Assist, which is the co-pilot available all the time for you. So it's great to see that those are the pillars that simplify the complex situations for you. That's awesome. That's awesome. Moving to the ecosystem. I'm sure you have a complex HR tech ecosystem. As you walk around the booth, you see like so many different products that play key components in HR tech. How do you see, integrations between GP and other HR tech enterprise systems that you have, and how did that streamline your operations?
So we are a Workday customer as well as a GP customer. And if you're not aware, Workday and GP are wonderful partners. And so one of the things that we're looking towards implementing is an integration between the two systems. And I'll be transparent, we have not set out to do that. We actually have some work to do on our end to set up our system in the right way so you don't break other things in the process. So I'm joined by our wonderful Workday analyst, Woody. So Woody, you got some work to do.
Thank you.
But one of the things that we are looking to get out of this integration is to be able to feed data out to GP's platform so that we can conduct more of our processes in our Workday environment. So things like performance evaluations, things like running the compensation processes, which we do already for the company as a whole in Workday, but for our GP professionals, we have to take it out of the system and then manually do those inputs. So it'll be a great way for us to streamline these processes. And beyond that, there is an added bonus, and that is that we are very purposeful about making sure that our global professionals feel like they are truly part of Boston Dynamics. And while GP facilitates that immensely, there's still a couple of nuances, like them having to work out of a different system that probably don't feel great for them. So this will also enable them to conduct their transactions within our native Workday environment. So helping to foster that sense of belonging for them as well.
That's awesome. That's so great to hear. Quick double click into how not only do we have these integrations with all these platforms, we have a powerful developer platform and an API ecosystem, as well as AI agent that will actually do the work for you, so that if you have agents in other systems, you can integrate agent to agent, A to A, so to speak, in order to get all of these integrated. So we are built for that future of A to A integration as well. Since we're talking about AI and global employment here.
Hot topic this week.
Hot. I didn't think that was that funny, but I'm glad it is funny. Talking about AI and everything, we are so excited about GPGIA, and we see a lot of excitement across the shop floor, across the conference, all over LinkedIn about GPGIA. We were talking earlier about how we are named a top HR product of the year.
Congrats.
Thank you. And I know you have been using GIA, and you've been treating GIA as your consultant.
In more ways than one, yes.
In more ways than one. How has GPGIA influenced your overall HR strategy, and how is it helping your business needs?
It's become a really important tool for us to do a little bit of discovery due diligence before going into any new country. Typically, before GIA, BG, I guess, we used to. Sorry, that one was bad.
That's a good one. That's
we
a good one.
we used to consult obviously with our customer success manager and the rest of the team at GP to make sure that we were addressing the questions that were coming up from within our team, from within our executive team. So Gia has sort of taken over that role, not entirely, but in many ways to sort of help us get a baseline understanding of what are we walking into, what are the potential pitfalls, what are the details of specific employment laws that might be unconventional in the U.S. that we're not aware of, that we might need to be prepared to address as we head into a new country. So Gia is a wonderful real-time tool. Does not have any sort of communication lag as you would with traditional email communication with support team members. And in my experience, Gia is very trustworthy. Gia is pulling information that is fully vetted by globalization partners, by GP, and so you can trust that the output from the engine is trustworthy and reliable, and it ends up saving me and the rest of the team so much time, because what we used to fish for potentially hours in the past by combing through all this documentation now gets spit out in a single sentence with a quick prompt.
That's awesome. GI is backed by 100,000 plus GP verified sources. And once you see that an answer is coming from GP verified sources, you can rest assured and focus on the business that you need to build. Eduardo, you also talked about how you are doing some research into GIA before you enter into a new country and doing some research into that. Is that a key part of the workflow now, where when you consider a country, the first thing you use is GIA?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Without question. Typically these conversations happen months prior internally, and there's lots of questions that I'm expected to answer from various team members. And so yeah, GIA has become sort of the de facto first step for me. And then from there, if GIA does not have the answers that I need, Kim McCaffrey would be my second in command there, which she is a wonderful customer success manager for us, and she's been with us for a few years. So it's nice to have the additional backup beyond just the GIA product.
That's awesome. And this could be a bad joke, but I was doing an interview earlier, and they asked, hey, what is your answer if a customer says, are my documents and policies and plans compliant? And my response was, do you GIA? It didn't work.
It's not a bad tagline, though.
Yeah, do you GIA?
There's something there. Marketing, let's take notes.
What's the most, this is a fun one. What's the most fun question you asked GPG? Unconventional, but you were pretty happy with the answer and took it forward.
Yeah. So recently, we started to hire a number of field support engineers. And for the Stretch product, which is a humongous robot, we needed these folks to have a specific type of vehicle so that they could deliver parts and effectively service the robots in these clients' sites. And so because it was an unconventional approach to the vehicle situation, we wanted to create a vehicle allowance program that would be robust enough and that wouldn't necessarily be the traditional thing that you would do because of these requirements that we were imposing upon them. And so in doing sort of that discovery process, leveraging GIA, I was able to get insights into, again, what is customary across a number of different countries where we were aiming to create something that worked for everyone. So what might one expect to see in terms of the amounts of car allowances? What are the ways through which one can deliver car allowances in these various different countries? And then how does taxation impact this car allowance across all these different countries? So we were able to gather all this information from GIA so that we can make a really informed decision internally. And it was especially useful to have that because there were so many opinions flying around. So having a reliable, reputable source like GIA to point to during this process made it less painful, let's put it that way, but certainly very useful.
That is awesome. So raise your hand if you go into a meeting and hear a lot of opinions, and you'd love to have a trustworthy GP verified back source to get to a quick answer. I find it all the time. Thank you, thank you. Lot of opinions, but one verified answer. Love that, love that. Um, Vehicle allowance program, that's very interesting. I will go and ask, I'll go and GIA myself after this. Um, how is it enabling you to be more efficient?
I mean, I already touched on this a little bit, but the fact that you can get an instant response out of this engine is so valuable. Usually, one pro to GP's EOR service is that you're typically working with professionals in the countries themselves. But of course, with time zones, sometimes the communication can be a little bit delayed, even though they're really usually very responsive. And so to have instant answers for probably 90% of your questions just makes things way more efficient. And another way that I like to leverage GIA is internally. So I mentioned earlier that we place a lot of importance in making sure that our professionals feel a sense of belonging. And so they leverage me as an internal point of contact very frequently. And once we're settled in a country for a while, they catch on. I can probably address a lot of their questions. But especially when we're in a new country, I don't always have all the answers, so it's really actually convenient to have GIA pulled up in real time, and I can consult with GIA as I'm having a conversation with these folks. So again, continues to foster that sense of belonging for them, and it saves me a ton of back and forth with what would have otherwise been service tickets.
That's awesome. That's awesome. With GIA, you are an expert in that country.
That's right.
Awesome. Awesome. But taking a step back from AI-powered GPEOR and GPGIA, taking a step back, how are you thinking about AI across your HR teams and beyond our partnership? What other AI solutions are you exploring?
Yeah, as you might expect, Boston Dynamics is a very AI-friendly company. So within the people operations team, we are leveraging tools like GIA. We're leveraging tools like Culture Amp, which they're actually here. We're also a customer of theirs. And they are an employee engagement platform, and they have an AI-powered sort of analysis system there. We also have implemented a few Workday modules that are now AI-backed. And beyond there, we actually use ChatGPT, and we're using ChatGPT to build out our job architecture, which is a huge undertaking, and it's been really wonderful to have tools that can just spit out a lot of content in a very consistent way, in the way that works for us, and ultimately, informs career progression. So there's so much downstream impact to the usefulness of these tools. Outside of the people operations team, our IT team is actually really proactive in providing tools for us and also providing education. So one of the recent deployments, and probably a year at this point, but Gemini was introduced into all of our Microsoft Office applications, and it's been continuously backed by the IT team with education. And then when you look at our product, we also are developing AI in-house. And our robots' behavior is informed by AI, and there are partnerships in place, such as with NVIDIA, to also support that. So we're across the board very AI friendly.
That is so great. A philosophical question for you. What do you see as the next frontier for AI in HR, internally at Boston Dynamics, globally, with global employment or beyond?
Well, let me pull out my crystal ball here. So I think it's really exciting to look back a couple of years and see how AI has evolved so quickly, and then take that and extrapolate that out into the future. So it is exciting. It's a little bit scary. And it's also hard to imagine because we don't know what it'll look like. But I think we have to sort of remain open to that. Where I see AI really enhancing our work is through the efficiency that it facilitates. And so I don't necessarily see AI as a substitute for human labor. I think that there's always going to be a desire to have a human first, human connection sort of environment, at least in a company like ours. It's a priority for us. So I don't see it as a substitution for what we're doing. I see it as a way for us to enhance our impact within the organization. So that's sort of how I'm approaching at least what I hope will be the future of AI. And in creating that sort of environment, in the HR space, we tend to have a very process-driven way of thinking. And if we have a tool that enables us to free up that headspace, and so that we can focus more in a outcomes-based sort of thought process, then as a department, we can be far more impactful in moving the strategy of the organization as a whole forward. So I think it's really powerful, and hopefully we are able to guide it in the right way. Because right now it's a bit of a gold rush. It's the wild, wild west with AI. And so I think it'll take some very intentional use cases to be productive and successful and sustainable in the longer term.
That's great. That's great. So we'll get to a fun part of the conversation. There are three topics on which would love to get your advice to HR professionals or companies out there based on all the great stuff you're doing with AI and global employment. Number one, what would be your advice to a company or a HR professional who is hesitant to make their first global hire?
As someone who hesitated at first, I would say don't wait. The longer you wait, you're just losing out on the opportunity for you to drive your business goals forward. And it's really not as hard as it seems. I know it can seem daunting at first, but with the right partner, whether it's GP or someone else, it really...
I hope it is GP.
It really becomes a simple process. You know, one of the things I appreciated when we sort of first engaged with GP was the development of our agreement, which was swift, it was quick, it was clear, and then as we've continued to add countries, their process is a simple agreement addendum with all of the information that's pertinent to you, a one-pager, very simple, very quick. So those sorts of, that sort of process and infrastructure that GP has set up makes it way easier than one would think.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Don't hesitate because it is going to lose out on business opportunities. Grab it. Awesome. Awesome. What's the biggest misconception about global hiring?
I'm sure there's a million. Internally, one of our biggest concerns was that there was a fear that these folks might not feel connected to the company. So yes, we were intentional about fighting that and making sure that that didn't end up being the case, and it in fact ended up not being the case. We've been very deliberate with the help of GP in making sure that that happens. There's a number of tools through which you can stay in very close communication. Actually, one of the things that I really enjoy about the setup with GP is that these people's managers are our employees. So our employees, their managers, are in the EOR platform, and they are having frequent touch points with the professionals that are hired through GP. So there's this real sense of them integrating into the company. So that would be the biggest thing that turned out to be a fallacy, thankfully. And we've been very deliberate about it, but it was absolutely manageable in that way.
They're truly part of your team. And you said you even had them travel to headquarters as they were onboarding.
Yes, typically for onboarding, we will either bring them to HQ in Waltham, or if they're not available, we fly out their manager to facilitate onboarding for their first week. So those are some key sort of touch points that sort of also help to set the tone in that way.
That's awesome. And the third piece of advice, this one is broader, philosophical, most valuable real-world lesson that you have learned from this entire experience that you want people to remember long after this session. Think of a line that will come as scrolling on ESPN Hot Take.
This may be a little cheesy, but as someone who is multicultural, multilingual, I think I can confidently say that the world is not as big as it seems. Yes, it is vast. Yes, there are cultural nuances and differences. There are different languages that you have to navigate. But at the end of the day, human need and human desire is universal. And as long as you can find your common language and connect through those very core, very foundational needs and desires, then all of a sudden it doesn't seem that daunting. It doesn't seem that big, and there's, I think, a really good opportunity and a beautiful opportunity to engage in meaningful ways and connect with people across the world.
The world is not as big as it seems. Eduardo Ramos, September 18th, 2025. And the world is not as big as it seems and is even smaller and even big of an opportunity with GP.
Absolutely,
Awesome.
no doubt.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Eduardo, for sharing all of these great insights and the 3 awesome robots. And we're so looking forward to the humanoid robots that are going to come out and expanding into even more countries and grabbing more opportunities. And I'm sure everyone is taking home some of these key advices that you had for them. And for those in the audience who are looking to expand globally, or you're looking to optimize your current global employment approach, I hope all these tidbits and the story that Eduardo shared with us is really helpful to you. And with AI-powered GP EOR and GP GIA, you are in great hands to take care of global employment with GP. And our partners are seeing it, and I hope you will come and embrace it and see it too. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, GP.
Eduardo.
Thank you for being a great partner as well.
Thank you.